Okay, my mind's racing. Let me see if I can structure this, what I'm thinking of. I can just start by saying I have a huge fascination for sidewalks. And well, it extends to the entirety of public space, but I see sidewalks as this canvas. As an artist uses this canvas, skateboarders use sidewalks as a structure for creation. I find it so interesting that it kind of forms this base in this entire structure, which is public space, upon which we can build and be creative and use those functional shapes and forms and use those functional spaces to our liking, use our creativity, use our body, and move within that. And feel free and be free and do our interpretation of what an object could be and really make it our own. I guess that's kind of what my head's trying to get to, but it's just so much.
Goedemorgen. Ik vroeg me af, hebben jullie een geprinte versie van de politiecodex dat ik zou kunnen raadplegen? Naast de overlast die veroorzaakt wordt door bepaalde rustverstorende activiteiten, worden er ook beschadigingen aan het publiek domein of straatmeubilair vastgesteld door het oneigenlijk gebruik ervan. Zo wordt er onder meer geskate over zitbanken en wordt er straatmeubilair ingewakst om het skateboarden, hetgeen een oneigenlijk gebruik van dit straatmeubilair vormt, te vergemakkelijken. Onder meer dergelijk oneigenlijk gebruik zorgt voor beschadigingen aan het straatmeubilair. Ten einde dit in de toekomst te voorkomen, wordt artikel 239 bis uitgebreid en wordt in sectie 2 het oneigenlijk gebruik van het publiek domein en straatmeubilair verboden.
Hi, for the purpose of the film, could you first state your name? How would you describe yourself and what you do?
Okay, hello, I am Mark Gonzales. I am a skateboarder. I am a father, a husband. What I do mostly is take out the trash. I like to skateboard. I like to create art. Go through traffic on the streets of New York City. I mean, skateboarding, they put wax on things. It messes things up. It's understandable that they would make it illegal. But if you outlaw skateboarding, I mean, people are gonna it makes it more exciting, whether you're gonna get caught or not. That's how it is. Is it okay if I make a coffee?
Go ahead. I mean...
Over the last couple of years, a lot of the frame of reference and frame of mind for my visual work and both my ideas have been rooted in a specific text that I found through the book Skateboard Studies. The text is Professor Iain Borden's Another Pavement, Another Beach. I'm just going to start with a quote that you use in your text. It goes, "Empty of cars, car parks have only form and no function." But then, can you tell me, what is the function of a sidewalk?
Well, it's like any public space. I mean, for me, it depends on I wouldn't say a sidewalk even exists. Okay, so for me, a sidewalk consists of three things. It consists of the physicality of the sidewalk, the paving slabs, the curbs, the shop fronts that are next to it. So however that sidewalk is constructed. But it also consists of our conception of what a sidewalk is. So that idea of, our very kind of concept of it. And then thirdly, you have people's kind of experiences and actualization with their bodies of that sidewalk. So this comes from Henri Lefebvre. This is Henri Lefebvre's kind of triad of spaces, things, ideas, and experiences. And it's only through those three things that the sidewalk truly kind of exists.
Ik heel veel wou jij praten met mij.
Dus er is een term die ik heb gevonden die ik heel interessant vind en die heet functional fixedness. Dat is echt ik vind dat een super interessante term. En dus de definitie van de term, ik ken die van buiten, want ik ben echt zo die ene nerd die daar zo keihard op inspeelt. En dus functional fixedness is the inability to realize that something known to have a particular use may also be used to perform other functions.
Wat? Nog een keer.
Functional fixedness is the inability to realize that something known to have a particular use may also be used to perform other functions. Hoe ouder je wordt, hoe nauwer je in vakjes begint te denken. Dat is eigenlijk wat functional fixedness is. Maar eigenlijk als skater komt je daar helemaal los van. Want als skater gaat je altijd anders denken over hoe dat bepaalde objecten gebruikt gaan kunnen worden.
Ik denk dat wij skaters uit België ook een beetje een andere blik hebben op alles. En bij alle skaters van elk ander land een beetje. Dat is wat ik zie. Iedereen ziet spots anders een beetje. Van waar die wonen ook. Snap je?
Inderdaad interessant waar ik op ingaat. Op zich, eigenlijk heb je zo... Je hebt zo de basis waar iedereen zo wat aan opbouwt, hè, van wat een skatespot kan zijn, maar dan inderdaad de invloed van waar je vandaan komt, doet echt heel veel aan hoe dat je kijkt naar je omgeving.
Jij ziet dat niet als een spot, maar iemand anders ziet dat als een spot. En ik heb dat vaak, dat ik spots anders zie dan andere mensen. Ik weet niet, als je al hun skatebreinen combineert, heb je één fucking fucked up brein dat alles ziet, snap je? Eén meester skatebrein.
Oh, you have your coffee? You're fine?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Okay, perfect. I think like not the last trip I did, but the second to last or the third to last trip I did to Los Angeles, I made a one-to-one replica of a parking block in concrete, which is it's really funny. The parking blocks are literally the edges of sidewalks pulled off. Kind of looks like the same mold. And so a couple of days ago, I went to the Contemporary Art Museum here in my city, which is like this really established museum. And I just walked in and I was like, oh, ik heb eigenlijk een heel casual vraag. Can I come in here with my sculpture and put it in your museum space? And you're like, oh yeah, fine, come in. And so I put it on my board and I rolled it into the museum. And it's like this white space, really polished floor. And I put it down and I made this nameplate and everything. So it looked like it was actually a sculpture in the museum. But I was thinking of your performance that is in the book as well in Germany, like how you can put in both in your skateboarding and in your art practice that you have the same notion of how objects can be used and how you can like stylize that and put it in museum context.
I think what ended up coming out was way better than what was in my mind. You adapt, you know. I can recall being stuck places and being like, where the bleep am I? You know, like where am I? And like you get accustomed to things, and then as soon as you're taken out of your element, you have to try to get as close as you can to what you're comfortable with, or come up with something new. And sometimes when you come up with something new, you return back to where you're from or where you're supposed to be, and you introduce things you learned elsewhere.
I think that's one of the reasons why skateboarding is so powerful, but also triggers people. It doesn't just change the use of things functionally, but it changes them conceptually. You know, like that handrail, it becomes, from an object of safety, it becomes an object of risk. And people get very worried. And then, of course, it spirals out to, well, what's the city for? Is it a place of function, or is it a place of uncertainty? Is it a place of assurance, or is it a place of surprise? And skateboarding's all about, in a way, kind of about disrupting. And I think that's one of the reasons why people find it so, sometimes some people find it so challenging, is because it literally sort of challenges the idea, the fundamental notion of what our expectation of public space is.
Not too long ago, I had a conversation with an artist that I really look up to called Julian Klincewicz. And in that conversation, I was talking about the same concept that I do in this film. And somehow he structured it so concisely and so perfectly that I asked if I could use the voice recording of that conversation in this film.
Skateboarding teaches you a unique perspective. It allows you to engage with architecture and design in a new way. You know, it's the reason Thomas Ruff can look at a shitty building and take a photo of it. He's doing the same thing that a skateboarder does. You're looking at something and you're projecting a new meaning or a new way of seeing onto it, right? And I think skateboarding really does that same fundamental thing, being a skateboarder, where you look at a curb and the curb is not just a curb. It's like you're breaking into a whole nother world. The curb serves a completely new function that is creative and free and endless, full of endless potential, basically. That DIY spirit that I think is intrinsic to artists as well. It's this natural need to want to make something and to create and to share, really to share with people, to say, here's my world. How do you see your world?
Sidewalks are designed to make people walk between the lines. When skateboarders use this shape and oppose an alternate use, they wave both literally and metaphorically between those lines. It is considered dangerous and improper use. But who decided that a rectangular concrete shape can hold a function which excludes the use of a wooden toy on wheels?
Ja, Abel. Dat is prachtig, hè? Dat is zalig, hè? Maar ik denk dat we nog over skateparken moeten praten. Ik weet niet, joh.
Ik denk dat die wel goed was. Die was wel echt goed.
Nee, is dat nog eentje doen? Nog eentje.